Welcome to the Albuquerque Journal's Fast Break High School Basketball Show with your host, James Yodice. This show is sponsored by Western New Mexico University.
Hi, welcome everyone. My name is James Yodice. I'm the high school sports editor at the Albuquerque Journal. This is episode 2 of Fast Break, which is our high school basketball podcast. We got a lot of basketball to talk today, of course. First, apologies last week. I didn't do a podcast last week. I've been under the weather, and I just didn't feel up to doing one last week, so apologies for that. And that was the primary reason we don't have a guest today. I had planned on having a guest with me today, but I'm still not physically 100%, so I was a little apprehensive about having someone here in the studio with me. I didn't want to pass along anything that I might have, and apologies in advance. I've been struggling with my voice for a little over a week now, so my voice may sound a little different by the time we get to the end of this podcast. It's been scratchy, so forgive me for that. But anyway, we've got a lot to get to basketball-wise. Before we do that, first thing, outside of basketball, I wanted to let you know, if you're a high school fan in general, the Journal has begun publishing our All-Metro teams from the fall. We had our All-Metro soccer teams run last weekend. All-Metro volleyball will be coming up this Saturday, and our All-Metro football teams will be coming up on Sunday. So if you want to, you can check those out. Those will be available, of course, in our print edition and as well as on our website, abqjournal.com, which is where you can also find this particular podcast. So let's get into the basketball part. I think what I want to do today is just sort of give a quick evaluation and run down some of the things we need to talk about over these first couple of weeks of the season. It's a big tournament week here in the metro area this week. We've got tournaments going on at Cleveland, at Rio Rancho, at Albuquerque Academy. Belen is hosting one as well. So we've got a lot of really good teams, both genders, that are participating in these tournaments. We will start with the Phil Griego Invitational, which is a boys tournament at Cleveland. And we have the two teams ranked number 1 and number 2. That would be Volcano Vista and Cleveland in the latest coaches poll that are both entered in this tournament. All these tournaments run Thursday through Saturday. So we've got Volcano Vista's boys and Cleveland's boys, who are on opposite sides of the bracket naturally, both entered. And there's some other good teams in the field, but this is the game I think we probably all selfishly would like to see in the championship game at 4 o'clock on Saturday. Volcano Vista is off to a 5-0 start as they begin their quest for a three-peat in Class 5A. And that includes a road win last Saturday at Organ Mountain, 63-43 over the Knights. These two teams had played a terrific semifinal at the state tournament last March, a game in which I thought Organ Mountain was actually the better team on the floor. And I think even Volcano Vista coach Greg Brown would agree with that. So we've got these two teams meeting up last weekend in Las Cruces. Volcano Vista's amazing freshman, 6'4", David Lund III, 23 points, 9 rebounds. Boy, this is a kid that everyone should have on their radar immediately. He is every bit as good as advertised. And in fact, I said to Coach Brown after I saw him play against La Cueva the first week of the season, I thought, if you wandered into a University of New Mexico men's basketball practice and David Lund III was in a Lobo uniform practicing with the team, you would never even be hip to the fact that this kid was a high school freshman. He looks like a college junior. Physically, he's very advanced, and he's got tremendous game. And what a weapon he is going to be for Volcano Vista, and already is for the Hawks as we start the season. So Volcano Vista, 5-0. And in fact, I think there are only 3 undefeated teams left in 5A. That would be Cleveland, Volcano Vista, and Farmington. Now, Cleveland, I saw them play last week at Los Lunas. Daniel Steverson, Cleveland's tremendous senior guard, goes off for 41 points, basically outplays Jalen Holland from Los Lunas, outscores him 41-36. Cleveland got a great road win. Cleveland looks really solid. This team has got a lot of pieces beyond Steverson, so it's going to be really interesting if we get a Cleveland Volcano final on Saturday. Now, these two teams, of course, are district rivals, and they'll see each other plenty after the new year, but perhaps in the Metro tournament at least twice, maybe 3 times in district. So I think we'd all maybe like to see these two go at it early and just kind of get a quick barometer of the pecking order here in the metro area. Volcano Vista is still clearly the team to beat, and and this 5-0 record, they're up to a really strong start. They've already beaten several really good teams along the way. So we've got the Phil Griego invite at Cleveland High School. Down the road at Rio Rancho High School, the girls have a tournament which has a tremendous field. As a matter of fact, this is how you put together a field of teams, boys and girls. You've got any number of really good teams in this tournament. You know, you can start with number 2, Sandia is in this tournament. Sandia's 5-0. Rio Rancho, which is 6-0. Rio Rancho is ranked number 6. Clovis is ranked number 7. Number 9, El Dorado and Bella Hines. They are also in this tournament. So you've got 4 teams in the top 9 in the latest 5A coaches poll that are all going to be going at it at the Rio Rancho tournament. The championship game in that event is 3 p.m. on Saturday. Sandia and Rio Rancho are slated to meet if they both win on Thursday. They would be playing on Friday afternoon in the semifinals. El Dorado is in the bottom half of the bracket, but a lot of really good teams at that tournament. Moving along, Albuquerque Academy is hosting the Joe Armijo Classic, which is a combined boys and girls tournament. So there'll be 8 games a day, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, 24 games total. It's always one of the best events on the calendar. The boys' field is much stronger than the girls' field this year. We were talking about the Phil Griego tournament at Rio Rancho. Well, the Joe Armijo Classic at Academy has the top 2 ranked teams in 4A. That would be number 1 Academy, the defending state champion, and number 2 Highland are both in this field, along with Oregon Mountain, which is coming off that loss, as we just mentioned, to Volcano Vista. So action gets underway. As I do this podcast, it's Wednesday afternoon, so they'll be starting up first thing Thursday morning. Oregon Mountain opens with Hope Christian, which is ranked number 5 in 4A. So that's going to be a good test for both of those teams. Highland opens with Siebel. So if Highland and Oregon Mountain both happen to win their games on Thursday, they would meet on Friday night in the semifinals. Academy is just coming off a win at the Sun Devil Invitational at Sandia Prep. The Chargers just really shredded Bernalillo in the championship game. Joe Jack, Dylan McCleskey, Justin Mask, which is Academy's big 3. I think they combined to score 52 points. That, as I wrote in my story the other day, that is as good a big 3 as any team in Class 4A has going right now. All 3 of them are capable of going off on any one night. Joe Jack, in particular, he's a 6'4 senior. He's as good as any guard out there, and that includes anybody in 5A, outside of maybe Daniel Steverson from Cleveland and Jalen Holland from Los Lunas. Joe Jack is as good a guard as there is. He's top 3, top 5 worst, if we're talking about the best guards out there in New Mexico. So he was the tournament MVP at the Sun Devil Invitational. So Academy coming in with momentum. Highland coming in with momentum. Highland's most recent win was an overtime win over Centennial. Jesus Lee Cohn is somebody we need to talk about for a second. He plays for Highland. He already has 2 buzzer-beating 3-pointers this season, and the season's not even 3 weeks old. He hit a big 3 to beat Sandia in the first week, and then he hit a buzzer-beating 3 in overtime that beat Centennial last Saturday. This kid has been a scoring machine. He's been over 40 points already at least once. I believe he had 38 in the game against Centennial. So the Hornets come in with a bunch of momentum, and if they can get past Oregon Mountain, we could see Highland and Academy in the championship game. It's possible Academy opens with Goddard in the top half of the bracket. So we'll have to see how that plays out. But we've got 2 premier 4A teams in the Joe Armijo bracket, especially on the boys' side. So as we think about some of these tournaments, if you're interested in prep hoops and you really have a Jones to get out and watch a lot of basketball, this is the week for you. You can bounce around from gym to gym and see a lot of the state's best teams, boys and girls. We talked about the Rio Rancho Invitational. At the Joe Armijo Classic, the one at Academy, the girls' field is not nearly as deep as the boys. Farmington's girls, who are ranked number 3 in 5A and who have been perennially a juggernaut in girls basketball, they are the headlining team at the Joe Armijo this weekend. So we will follow that. Not the only team that can win it, certainly, but Farmington by far is going to be the favorite as we start this event. The Joe Armijo Finals, the girls' championship game will be 6:30 on Saturday. The boys' championship game will be 8:15 on Saturday night. So you'll have a chance to see a lot of good basketball at these events. And then, of course, we'll get into the holidays, and there'll be a little bit less activity as we get into next week when schools have, exams and whatnot. And then we'll have a few holiday tournaments in between Christmas and New Year's. We'll talk about that a little bit more next week. I want to get back to girls basketball for a few minutes. So we were talking about Rio Rancho's tournament, which starts on Thursday. And we were talking about Rio Rancho being 6-0. Sandia's 5-0. Now, Sandia's girls returned 4 starters. We're talking about the guard trio of Sydney Benally and Audrey Wright, Hope Giddings, plus Chloe Brown, who's a fantastic player for them. Sandia also introduced Kaya Benally, which is Sydney Benally's younger sister. She's an 8th grader, already with a Division I offer. They have incorporated her into the lineup, and Sandia has just been pounding teams early here in the season. Sandia's won 5 games. The closest win that Sandia has so far is 29 points, and that was against Volcano Vista way back, I think, on the first night of the season for those 2 teams. So Sandia has clearly established itself. They're ranked number 2 in the state behind Hobbs, which is probably fair. Sandia has clearly established itself as the best team in the metro area. Now, there's a certain hierarchy that we should talk about for a minute because, it's still early. We're only in the middle of December, so there are still plenty head-to-head games coming up between all of these teams. Volcano Vista, for example, on Tuesday night, beat La Cueva 54-40. We're talking about the teams that are ranked number 4 in Volcano Vista and number 5 in La Cueva playing head-to-head. Volcano Vista beat them 54-40. So Volcano Vista has beaten 3 ranked teams after they lost to Sandia. Volcano Vista beat El Dorado, they beat Oregon Mountain, and then they beat La Cueva, of course, on Tuesday night. So Volcano Vista has gotten its footing back after Sandia kind of put it to them 82-53 going back to week 1 of the season, which was such a statement win because Volcano Vista just simply does not lose games by 29 points to anyone, not even to a team like Hobbs. So that was a really surprising result and perhaps announced Sandia as one of those teams that might have a chance to disrupt Hobbs. Hobbs clearly is the favorite in Class 5A girls basketball, and Hobbs will be here in Albuquerque for the Metro Tournament second week in January. And Hobbs and Sandia actually played in the final of the Metros last season, so we'll get a better idea in a few weeks about that. But all credit to Sandia because this team has been incredibly dominant, just beating teams handily left and right. So Sandia gets ready to play in the Rio Rancho tournament, so they could face an undefeated Rio Rancho team in the semifinals, possibly. That would certainly be an interesting test because Rio Rancho fancies itself as a team that can contend in its district with Volcano Vista. So as for the Hawks, the win over La Cueva, I think for the moment establishes Volcano Vista as the second best team in the metro area behind Sandia. I watched them play La Cueva last night. TT Hill, who's been a 4-year starter for the Hawks. She has trimmed down a bit. She's lost maybe 15 or 20 pounds in the offseason. She's trimmer. She's quicker. She's moving really well. She's added a mid-range jumper to her vast repertoire of abilities. And so she is, as always, one of the best players in 5A anywhere in the state. She had 13 points, 14 rebounds Tuesday night for Volcano Vista. And she also reached the coveted 1,000-point plateau for her career at Volcano Vista. I had a chance to catch up with her after the game, and this is what she had to say. So we are visiting with Volcano Vista forward TT Hill. You get to 1,000 career points tonight, and apparently you did not know.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I didn't.
Okay, so at that moment they stopped the game. How nice a moment was that for you?
It was a great moment. I just thought we were celebrating because I hit the shot, honestly, but I didn't really know for sure.
Can you reflect on that? You've been a 4-year starter for this program. 1,000 points is always a great plateau for any player. What does it mean to you?
It's a big milestone. I was really looking forward to this, so I'm proud of myself. And I'm thankful for my team, and yeah.
So you guys beat a quality team tonight. Let's talk about how you guys got it done tonight. Mila had some big threes that got you guys going,
Yep.
And then another strong defensive effort.
Yeah, we knew that they were going to be scrappy, so we had to come out physical and strong and play to their level. And we really just focused on rebounding the ball offensively and defensively, and yeah.
I noticed you were flashing a nice mid-range jumper today, which I don't think I can remember you shooting
during your previous 3 seasons. Tell me how you've enhanced your game that way.
So coming into the season, I knew I was going to get doubled down low, so I just expanded and worked on my game on my jumper and on the outside.
So this team had a really bad loss to Sandia to open the year.
Yeah.
Tell me what you guys learned about yourselves, because you guys have won 3 in a row and you beat a good team tonight.
We're still learning to play together. It's a new team, and we're working together, and yeah.
Education and training at Western New Mexico University is accessible from every corner of the land of enchantment, providing limitless opportunities towards success for more than a century. And now, through the New Mexico Opportunity Scholarship, tuition and fees are covered for anyone looking to start or start over. Along with free tuition, books are always included for every WNMU student. Assuring your only worry is how far you can actually go. Lift off toward your future and endless potential at WNMU today.
So that is TT Hill, who, as I said, has been just really tremendous for Volcano Vista throughout her entire career. So congratulations to her on reaching that coveted 1,000-point career plateau. That'll kind of wind it up for the basketball part today. I hope next week we're going to get a guest in studio. I hope to be feeling better by next week, 100%, and to have a guest in here. There are a lot of subjects and a lot of people that I'm hoping to visit with during basketball season. So I should give you a heads up. We're going to do a podcast next week, Christmas week. Probably I will take off the week between Christmas and New Year's, and then we will resume the podcast the first week of the new year as some teams get back on the floor. As I said, the Metro tournament doesn't begin until the second week in January, but I've got a lot of topics and a lot of teams and individuals I'm hoping to bring here in the studio just to talk basketball with. So I hope you forgive me. My plan was to have someone in here with me today, but I just didn't feel good enough physically to do that. I don't want to pass along anything I have to a coach or an athlete. So I hope you'll understand. I don't want to be in here talking basketball by myself. I want to bring in guests and have some interaction and talk about some of the topics that are out there and get with some of the top players and coaches, boys and girls, and just talk basketball. And that is certainly going to be the plan going forward. So before I wrap it up today, something else I wanted to get into briefly, which is non-basketball related. The New Mexico Activities Association, earlier this week, their board of directors did a final confirmation of their realignment and classification plan for the 2024-25 and 25-26 school years. Monday, there were some schools and individual entities that appealed to the board of directors about where they had been placed and wanted the board to consider perhaps some tweaks. One of them was that Manzano wanted to play down in all sports. They're going to be moving down to 4A in football starting next year. That is the third largest class in football. Manzano plays in 5A in the other sports, which is the largest class, like basketball, baseball, soccer, and whatnot. Manzano wanted to ask the board, because of their enrollment was so close to the threshold between 4A and 5A, to put them down into 4A in the other sports. That was denied. So Manzano's going to be playing up into 5A for at least the next 2 school years. One of the other interesting elements of this appeal on Monday came from District 16A football. Todd Rush, the district athletic director at Rio Rancho Public Schools, speaking on behalf of all the schools in this new football district, that is Rio Rancho, Cleveland, Cibola, Volcano Vista, Piedra Vista, and Farmington. That's going to be the new District 16A going forward for 2024 and 2025. Todd came forward before the board and asked the board if they would consider moving one of the teams from District 2, which is going to be 8 teams next year, into District 1, which would create 7-team districts across the board. 7 teams in District 1, 7 in District 2, and 7 in District 3. The board denied this appeal. There are some ramifications that come with this. Rio Rancho and Cleveland, and I wrote this in a story for the Journal the other day, are having trouble filling out 10 games. And in fact, they have 5 district games, and they've found 4 non-district opponents. But because they are unable to really schedule in the middle of their season against either District 2 or District 3, who are going to have to begin their district schedules earlier than District 1 because they have more teams, Rio Rancho and Cleveland, and Farmington and Piedra Vista, I should say, are all having trouble filling out a 10-game schedule. Rio Rancho and Cleveland in particular have told me that they're probably going to have to go out of state to find a 10th game. and maybe do a home and home over the next 2 years. That is not what they would prefer to do, obviously. They would rather play somebody from inside the state. Rio Rancho and Cleveland already have games set up with Clovis, Centennial, and Las Cruces. Both of those teams are going to play all three of those. Cleveland's going to play Los Lunas. Rio Rancho is going to play Atrisco Heritage. So that is 9 out of 10 games. So they're having trouble finding a 10th game. Farmington and Piedra Vista, who are on even more of an island than the schools here in the metro area, are also having trouble, I am told, finding a 10th game. So I usually am on board with what the NMAA decides to do because I don't think people can even remotely fathom how difficult and complex some of the decisions they have to make truly are. A lot of people take pot shots at them for this and that, and it's mostly out of bounds and unnecessary. This is one particular case where I don't think the board of directors got it right. I think they should have found a way for football only. Now, keep in mind, these district arrangements are only for football. The other sports are going to look basically like they always have, much smaller districts, and there'll be more of them. But in football, the coaches wanted less districts and larger districts to help with scheduling. And as Matt Martinez, the Cleveland athletic director, told me the other day, I thought the larger districts were supposed to help with scheduling, and he told me that it's actually making it harder. So I don't think the board of directors got this one 100% right. I get where they're coming from, but I think for the sport of football, it would have been better for everyone if they had just found a way to get someone into District 1. Now, I should say, in all fairness, nobody from District 2, which includes La Cueva, nobody wants to go into this district. District 1 features 3 of the top 5 teams in the state. You're talking about Cleveland, Volcano Vista, Rio Rancho in any particular order. None of the teams that are in this new District 2 want to go play in a district with all those teams. They're going to be much more competitive in this new District 2. So the NMAA is kind of stuck because nobody wants to do it. But I think maybe the mistake it was at the start, maybe they should have just announced 7, 7, and 7 across the board to begin with, because the scheduling issues that have come up need to be talked about. And, if the NMAA said that the larger districts would help with scheduling, and we've got a district clearly that is having major issues scheduling, then we have to look at it a little bit more and try and figure something out maybe for the next block. Now, Sally Marquez from the NMAA, their executive director, who was always very forthcoming with me, said, look, we've solved a lot of our issues in football with these larger districts, and the schools, by and large, seem to like the larger districts, but we haven't solved all our issues. And I think that comment was directed largely toward District 1, which is having some scheduling issues, and it's something I'll be writing about further as we go along. But, new alignments, every 2 years, the NMAA has a new realignment and classification. It's never 100% accepted by the schools. There are always quite a few schools that push back and want to be moved somewhere from where they've been placed. This goes on usually every 2 years. So it's a very complex situation, especially in this state where population bases are spread out so far from each other in the rural areas of the state. So it can create some real problems. But this is something I'll be getting into a little bit more as we go along, and I'll update things as we go along. And before I go, one of the things I should mention is that La Cueva's football team is not going to be playing either Cleveland or Rio Rancho next year, which surprised me. I thought they'd be playing at least one of those two, but we're not going to have a La Cueva Cleveland game or a La Cueva Rio Rancho game, at least not in the regular season next year. So we'll see. These things are not forever. It's only for a 2-year block. We'll see how it plays out. In the meantime, I'm going to get out of here. I hope my voice has stood up for these 20 or so minutes. Thank you for joining me. You can find the Fast Break podcast on our website, abqjournal.com. You can also find it through YouTube. If you want to reach out to me about anything basketball related, feel free to reach out. My social media account is at James D. Yodice. My email address is on there as well, jyodice@abqjournal.com. All the Journal's podcasts are available on our website and on YouTube, including Jeff Grammer's very popular Lobo podcasts. So in the meantime, I will be back next week. And as always, we encourage you to read, hear, and watch. We'll see you next week, everyone.